University Theater on the University of Wisconsin Green Bay campus. As a courtesy to our patrons, please turn off all cell phones, pagers, and other electronic devices. Also, a reminder that all photography and the use of any video or audio recording devices is strictly prohibited by copyright laws. Thank you for supporting the performing arts. Enjoy the show.
"150 years is not long enough in the reckoning of a hill, but to a man it's long enough. 150 years is a weekend to a redwood tree, but to a man it's 2 full lifetimes. 150 years is a twinkle to a star, but to a man it's time enough to teach 6 generations what the meaning is of liberty, how to use it, and when to fight for it."
Have you ever been to Washington, your capital? Have you been there lately? Well, let me tell you, it's a place of buildings and of boom and bustle, of the fever of emergency, of workers working overtime, of windows lighted late into the night. It's a handsome city, proud of its sturdy name, proud of the men who've stopped there and made decisions, proud of its domes and lawns and monuments. Of course, too, Washington is like some other cities you have seen. It has streetcars, haberdasheries, newsstands, coffee shops, and salons. At busy intersections, there are neon traffic signs which, when the light's against you, say,
"Don't walk."
and when the light changes,
Walk.
it's a tourist city, which is proper when you think of how much history a busy guy can cover in a day. And when you realize that the District of Columbia belongs to all the people of the states, the tourists know that here their voices have been heard from clear back home, that here their votes are put to work. The tourist goes to see the sites they've seen 1,000 pictures of, the sites so famous and familiar that they're thrilled to find they look just as they thought they'd look. The Washington Monument, for example, or the Lincoln Memorial, where the seated and relaxed Abe Lincoln sits between 2 mighty murals of plain words, his own words.
"With firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations."
The city moves on busily outside of the monument. The tourist goes to see the Capitol, the White House, the museums, see all about her statues and inscriptions, more sayings than she's ever seen before. Wise sayings, profound sayings. At the Union Station, for example.
"A man must carry knowledge with him if he would bring home knowledge." Samuel Johnson.
The Archives Building.
"What is past is prologue."
The Supreme Court.
"Justice, the guardian of liberty."
But one of the best is in the Library of Congress.
"The noblest motive is the public good." Virgil.
The tourist thinks that over.
"The noblest motive is the public good."
And with this in mind, she climbs the marble stairs inside the library to come at length upon a case containing a handwritten document.
"The gross original of the Constitution of the United States of America."
She sees that the manuscript is aging, that its words are worn as though from use. The writing's dim, it's hard to make out. It's getting on in years.
"We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America." Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives.
The
Section
words
2.
are dim.
The House of
But not the
Representatives shall be
meaning of the
composed of
words.
members chosen
The
every
pens
second
that
year
put
by
this
the people
down
of the seven
are
states.
dust,
And
but
the
not the marks
electors of
they
each
made.
state shall have the
There was a
qualifications
time
necessary for electors
when this
of
was
most
shining
numerous
parchment,
right to use state
when the
legislature.
text was easier to read,
No person
when the
shall be
ink
represented
was not
who
yet
shall
drawn.
not attain to the age.
Suppose that we stopped here in modern Washington
Both of
before
the
this
United
shrine
States and of
were
the
to
seven
return,
states
go
shall be
back,
bound by
go
oath
back a
or
little north by
affirmation to
east
support
in time and space to one bright afternoon in Philadelphia. That fine fall day when the deputies from the 13 free states subscribed their names to a new blueprint of a new society.
Done in convention by the unanimous consent of the states present the 17th day of September, in the year of our Lord, 1787, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 12th. In witness whereof we have hereunto subscribed our names, George Washington, President and Deputy from Virginia. Now, gentlemen, we are ready for your signatures. From geographical procession north to south. The deputies from New Hampshire will please sign first.
John Langdon. Nicholas Gilman.
The delegates from Massachusetts.
Good-looking men, these, mostly lawyers. 2 or 3 are surgeons.
Nathaniel Gorham.
Broome there, Broome of Delaware. He did surveying for a while.
The gentleman from Connecticut, please.
William Samuel Johnson.
Roger Sherman.
Sherman, who just signed, was a shoemaker before he studied law.
And now a representative of New York.
That's Washington calling the delegations.
Alexander Hamilton.
The man behind Ben Franklin is Alexander Hamilton. Ben's getting
The
old
gentleman
now,
from New Jersey.
81.
William
Slept
Wright.
off and on throughout the whole convention.
The gentleman
But when
from
it was
North
important to be
Carolina,
awake,
William Blunt.
He was awake and active. Oh, there have been people assembled in a room before, but never for a greater purpose.
The gentleman from South Carolina.
Jay Rutledge.
Charles Collinsworth Pinckney.
Here come the last to sign now.
The gentleman from Georgia.
William Few. Abraham Baldwin.
Attest. William Jackson, Secretary.
So, the Constitution has been drafted, signed, and presently will be submitted to the states for their approval. The convention is relaxed now. Is everybody happy? There are handshakes and felicitations. Will they celebrate, do you suppose? Will Rufus King go home to Boston and be welcomed by a welcoming committee from the city? Will appreciative Virginians hoist James Madison to their shoulders, parade him through the streets shouting, "Father of the Constitution"? Will a thumping band march up and down the town, making a noise like this? No! There will be no band. Will there be speeches?
And I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, the hearts of every man and woman, nay, of every child in every one of our 13 states, from the granite hills of New Hampshire to the golden sands of Georgia, should fill and swell with pride upon reading our noble and glorious Constitution, which our wise and prudent and far-sighted representatives in solemn assembly have framed and submitted to our glorious states for their approval. And I say to you...
No, there will be no speeches. There will be no celebration, no confetti from the windows, fireworks, saluting cannon, roses strewn beneath the coaches of the delegates. Instead, suspicion. Suspicion from the very men who fought the long fights that there could be a constitution drawn for the emancipated states. The farmers and the clerks, the hackmen and the artisans, the grease-grimed blacksmiths in their shops, these men who only lately put away their guns and powder in a good, dry place. These men who won a war of freedom, but who know that freedom must be guarded to be kept. They are suspicious. They are talking on the common, in the tavern, in the parlor, in the foundry room.
What else does it say?
Oh, that covers it. That's the whole thing.
Constitution. I don't like it.
Why?
Come here with me. Come over to the door. You see that spire?
Yes.
That's the church I go to.
Ah, what about
I like it. I'm a God-fearing man. I want to keep on going there.
Well,
I don't want anybody telling me we have to pray his way.
Well, who'd think of doing that?
It's been done. It's happened often. Ever hear of state religion?
Yes.
It's bad. I don't like it. Don't think we should have it.
Oh, we haven't got it.
Nothing in that thing you read me guarantees we won't get it.
You say this here Constitution gives us order and authority, hmm?
Yes.
But we had order and authority under King George before the Revolution. Shucks, the Romans had order and authority under Nero, too. Only the wrong kind, too much of it.
Yes, but you can surely trust.
Trust the men who wrote the Constitution? Sure thing, I trust them, neighbor. But they won't always be around.
Well, you don't seem to understand. This is our own authority. Now, if you...
In fact, it's our own authority. Don't make no difference. Constitution's fine as far as it goes, but the time to talk authority is after you put it down in black and white that we're all free men. And then we'll give you all the authority you need to keep us that way. And what's more, we'll back it up with guns. That fair enough?
The way you talk, you think...
The way I talk, I think it all depends who's handing out authority. Whether it's to keep men slaves or keep men free.
Didn't think it was necessary? The English thought it was necessary 100 years ago. They've got a Bill of Rights. Where's ours?
Maybe they'll get around to that. Maybe they'll amend the Constitution later.
How do we know they will?
Well, maybe they're planning...
I don't like this maybe business. When my husband Robert got killed at Trenton, there was no maybe about it. He got killed. He knew what he was fighting for and was glad to die for it. Now that the fighting's over, I want to see it.
I don't know, Sam. Sometimes I wonder whether you use your head for anything else than to keep the ears apart.
I got my opinion and I stick to it. Constitution looks good to me. I don't think it needs no adding to.
Hand me a brick there.
It's a foundation, that's what it is.
Sure, it's a foundation. That's just what I'm talking about.
Not them alone. Not only little men like them, whose names escape us, whose names will never be recalled, the men who left their bloody footprints in the snows of Pennsylvania and buried their comrades in a clearing back at the Clump of Evergreens. The little men who took it, gave it, stuck for the duration, saw it through. Not they alone are doubters, wondering and grumbling, no. There are big names too. The names now bandied on the tongue, but later to be lustrous, later to be sainted. Tom Jefferson, George Mason, Jimmy Madison, Pat Henry. Well, take Jefferson, for instance. Know what he says?
A Bill of Rights is what the people are entitled to, against any government on earth.
Take Patrick Henry.
I cannot give my oath to support this Constitution without a Bill of Rights.
Take Mason, the wealthy planter of Virginia, who'd rather plant a seed of liberty than 20,000 acres of tobacco.
A government to be lasting must be founded in the confidence and affections of the people. Without a Bill of Rights, this government will end either in monarchy or tyrannical aristocracy. This Constitution has been formed without the knowledge of the people, and it is not proper to say to them, take this or nothing.
Well then, the Constitution is in peril. This document so handsomely engrossed in Philadelphia, there are doubts about it, and suspicions. Will the states approve it? Approve by ratifying? Will they throw it out? Or will they ratify providing certain changes are made? The writing is fresh, still fresh upon the parchment. The text is clean. The ink is bold. The meaning clear. Only the worth of the Constitution is uncertain. All the points, the articles, the regulations are well put, but will they be taken? The states decide. Not one man, 2 men, 3 men, but the states united. They decide. What says South Carolina?
We ratify, but offer 4 amendments.
What says Massachusetts, where she stands?
We ratify, but offer 9 amendments.
New Hampshire, you?
We ratify, but propose 12 amendments.
Rhode Island?
We ratify, but 21 amendments, please.
North Carolina?
26 amendments and a Declaration of Men's Rights.
Virginia?
We ratify, but we're suggesting 29 amendments and a Bill of Rights.
New York?
33 amendments in full faith and credit, and we ratify.
Now Congress may begin. May call itself First Congress. May go to work. May tackle the new job of running a democracy. But it has one thing to remember. A promise is a promise. The people have been promised changes, promised amendments, down in black and white for all to see, for all to know, for all to live and prosper by. It will take time. No quorum to begin with. Bad roads, New York City's hard to get to. There is some indifference too, so the days go by. No quorum. Month of March goes by. No quorum. Well, patience. Good things grow slowly. Good things don't come running when you whistle for them. Good things are always fought for, worked for, grown. The acorn to the oak is not an overnight procedure. God himself took several days to make the earth, or so we're told, but one day they begin. They sit down in a drafty hall in New York City, and they go to work. At first, they're busy with 100 other things, but Madison keeps after them. He's a stickler for a Bill of Rights. Madison remembers what people want. By this time, carpenters are making changes in Federal Hall, adding more room. The place has to be enlarged. Government's growing. The representatives, all 55 of them, work through the noise. They are making some additions of their own. They're working on the Bill of Rights.
Do you think 55 representatives of the American people sat in a hall in New York City, in a drafty hall, and made up Articles of Freedom? Do you think the congressmen from 13 states made up those freedoms out of their own heads, debated there, deliberated there, without assistance, themselves, from their own experience? Oh no, they had much help, from many nameless and unknown, from dust in quiet places, from broken bones deep in the earth, deep in forgotten earth, mixed with the empty clay, from bleeding mouths, burnt flesh, cropped ears, from numberless and nameless agonies.
I said that men were born equal. That is all I said.
The delegates from the ashes at the bottom of the stakes, they were there.
The king did not approve.
The gallows delegates, whose corpses lifted gently in the breeze, they too.
Me too.
The exiled wanderers, the Christians killed for being Christians, Jews for being Jews, the Quakers hanged in Boston town, they made a quorum also.
Present. We are present.
The murdered men, the lopped off hands, the shattered limbs, the red welts where the whiplash hit into the back. Must you know what they said? Must you know how they argued? Must you be told the silent evidence, the silent testimony of the race? Must it be told verbatim? Listen then! Ah! That was an argument for an amendment. That was a speech in favor of an article of freedom. That prayed the passage of the Bill of Rights. How much of this must be told to be believed? Must it be drawn on diagrams? X marks the spot where decency was last observed. The dotted line shows how the victim staggered. The arrow points to blood. The headsman, he was there in Federal Hall. The man who turned the ratchets on the rack, he sat in the assembly too. Nero was there. Caligula, King Philip, Torquemada, Cotton Mather, all the tyrants and the martyrs who had gone before sat quietly, unseen among the representatives, read from their memoirs, expert testimonies, found their way into the records and between the lines. All the long and bloody history of fanaticism, murder in the name of God, torture in the name of love, crucifixion in the name of safety to the crown.
My God, why hast thou forsaken me?
He too sat in the Congress, the mild man with the scars in his hands and feet where the spikes went through. He was a consultant in the business at hand. Had he not died because the rulers of a realm denied free speech? Was he not nailed upon a cross between two thieves because his preachments were considered treason? He, the Son of God, was he not executed over an issue of the rights of man? Make no mistake about it, he was there. He sat beside James Madison and Elbridge Gerry and John Page in Federal Hall. Unseen he was, but voted. The men of Congress were collaborated with. They added up the gains and losses and the brave words spoken and the brave songs sung. They weighed the drawn and quartered flesh. They took into account the hemlock and the crucifix, the charred stake at Salem and the gallows. And then they framed amendments out of the crisscross stars of all the human race. They made a Bill of Rights for their own people. For a new, a willful, and a hopeful nation, made a Bill of Rights to stand against the enemies within. Connivers, fakers, those who lust for power, those who make of their authority an insolence. The Congress of the 13 states threw up a bulwark, wrote a hope, and made a sign abolitionists, the men who give up fights that have just been begun. This Congress wrote a 10-part epic of amendments.
Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Redburn, I move that this amendment be accepted in its present form without qualification. It seems to me that such an article well deserves to rank ahead of any of the other proposed amendments, being at once the most basic and the most comprehensive of all which Congress has seen proper to recommend to the country.
These are the voices of Virginians. They are debating Congress's amendments on this mild December afternoon, this 15th of December, 1791, debating in the State Assembly at the Capitol at Richmond. Only one more state is needed now to ratify. Just one more state, and the amendments become law. The victory is close at hand. Virginia likes these articles. Virginia, the home of Washington and Jefferson, of Madison and Mason. Virginia has fought to win these rights for many years, has waited for this day. Virginia will ratify the Bill of Rights today, and freedom will take hold, take root, begin to burgeon in the rich earth of America. Today, the 15th of December.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Gray,
I support the motion of Mr. Redburn, especially in acknowledgement of the fact that this amendment is in letter and spirit substantially what has already been assured to the citizens of our own Commonwealth by the prior enactments of our Assembly. Furthermore, Virginia may take a modest and a reasonable pride in that so many of her own sons have contributed greatly to the bill before us. Also, the fact that its conception and its execution was.
Now, the people of the states breathe easier. It's down in black and white. A contract. It's a deal between the future and themselves. Americans don't make a promise lightly, or take it that way either. A promise made by honest men to other honest men is like a hand clasp and a vow, meant to be understood, meant to be remembered. Look about the country now. Suspicion thaws like frost beneath the frank diplomacy of spring. The people read the new amendments slowly, pleasurably, as they read a letter from a son just set up in a business who'd written home, tell how he was making good.
Now that's more like it. That's more like it.
You've got your sleeve in the soup here. What's more like what?
Listen to this. Amendment 2. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
That means you can keep your gun?
That means if somebody gets into office and turns sour on the people who put him there, why, he can't vex us with a standing army the way George did before the war. If we people of the states got arms, nobody's going to order us to do things the majority of the country ain't voted for. Not without a fight.
Better eat that soup before it gets cold. Shouldn't read when you eat anyways. Put down the paper.
All right.
That's a good law, ain't it, Jasper?
Yep.
Go on reading. Why'd you stop?
Well, how can you hear me when you're hammering?
Concentration. Go on.
Amendment 3. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law.
Gives me elbow grease just hearing things like that. Makes the old hammer handle easier.
The way this sounds, you'd think we was expecting another war. In a time of war, this says. I thought we'd just been all through that just a little while ago.
Well, the more amendments make us free, the more they'll be hated by those who don't want freedom because it spoils their game. Think nobody's going to try to break us up because we're united in greed? Some people are just ornery that way. It wouldn't surprise me none if we had to fight more wars.
You means to say we're maybe going to have to fight all over again to keep our independence? Hope it doesn't get to be a habit.
I hope it does. It's a pretty good habit to get into, fighting for your rights. There's always somebody waiting for a chance to steal valuables. And if freedom ain't valuable, I don't know what is.
Yeah, well...
Go on some more.
Amendment 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, homes, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to
myself inside the house. Don't smell much, but they're awful pretty. Everything's going on about the same at the house. Except I'm a year older since I was here last. Guess you don't have to worry anymore, Robert. Guess you can rest in peace now. Looks like it's going to be all right. They didn't trick you. Looks all right, Robert.
The voices of Americans. In Maryland, in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, the Carolinas, Georgia. Up and down the little seaboard nation, the voices of Americans together now. Together in a new way. In a strange new way. A way that men have never lived together in before. Proud men. Unsuspicious. Trusting men. They're fighting over. And their living just begun. They're building and they're working and they're singing just now getting started.
Here strangers from 1,000 shores, compelled by tyranny to roam, shall find amid abundant stores a nobler and happier home. Rejoice, Columbia's sons, rejoice! To tyrants never bend the knee, but join with heart and soul and voice for Jefferson and liberty. Here art shall lift her laurel head, wealth, industry, and peace divine, and where dark pathless forests spread, rich fields and lofty cities shine.
Shall this song make good its promise? Does this folk tune hold the truth? Shall strangers from 1,000 shores be compelled by tyrannies to roam? Shall they find here, amid abundant stores, a nobler and a happier home? 150 years from this beginning, how much of what is sung and what is written down shall still be good? This parchment of the Bill of Rights, with the word resolve written so plainly on it, how long will it endure? Is it a passport to a greater day? Will future generations read it, sanction it, and pass it on? Will children's children live by it, and work by it, and profit by it? Look it over. Look it over. It is new. The parchment shines. The text is easy reading. The words are not yet worn with trial and experience. The writing's fresh. The meaning's clear. The parchment gleams in the December sunlight like a burnished shield, upraised against oppression.
No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime, unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land of naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life and limb, nor shall he be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
Let's go ahead. 150 years from now. Let's rush, headlong, unstopping, down the corridors of time. Let's go ahead to 1941. The writing dims. The parchment cracks and curls up at the edges. And now, it's in a case in Washington, D.C. It's in this case behind this pane of special glass, protecting it from light. You see that tourist bending over it? She's trying hard to make the writing out. She's tracing the rights of persons accused of crime.
Amendment 6. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witness against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense.
Where does this tourist come from? Maybe from a place undreamed of when the Bill of Rights was born. A land as far away from Federal Hall as Europe. California. What lies tonight between that place and here? 4 dozen states, without a yard of fenced-in border. 130 million people. People working. People resting up to work some more. People working in a mighty unison to prosecute a war. Let's move along. Let's move among them. Let's hear them living lives and thinking thoughts and giving off opinions. Let's see now what they have to say 150 winters after Richmond. Let's see what happens to a Bill of Rights through 33 administrations, 77 Congresses, and a half a dozen wars. Has anybody anything to say about the status of men's rights this December 15, 1941?
I'm in jail tonight, but I'm joining in your celebration and cheering as hard as anybody else.
If you don't mind my asking.
A trumped-up charge. The old routine in the city. But I'm getting out on bail tomorrow, when I'm finally tried to be by a jury in public. And none of this Gestapo stuff. Not that they wouldn't have tried if they could, but that little 450-word matter you're celebrating tonight stops them short of that.
Well, what did they chuck you in the clink for? I mean, what charge?
Making a speech for the Fusion Party against the mayor. First, we hired a hall, but they took away our permit. Said the building was unsafe under an old fire ordinance. So then we went down to Garrison Square, where no permit was required to speak in public. And within 10 minutes, we were on our way to the police station and charged of blocking traffic, disturbing the peace, and inciting the riots.
Fine thing.
Yeah, but listen, we'll beat that guy. He's scared of us. He's scared that people will find out the truth, and with good reason, because when they do, he's finished. That's why he doesn't want us to be heard. It's only the crooks and the frightened little big shots who need to shut up their opponents. That may work all right in some other countries, but not here.
Well, how are you going to beat him?
There are rights on our side, and not even the mayor's machine is powerful enough to stop us. We'll fight that fight on every front, carry it to the highest courts if necessary, and we'll win!
Is this the talk of servile men, of tamed and gutless and obedient men? Is this the kind of talk you hear from slaves and witless followers? Not quite. No, not exactly. This is what they meant in Federal Hall, and what they voted for 150 years ago today in Richmond. Those 10 amendments are not dusty statues loafing in retirement. They are a pep talk to the fighters, and a fortress to the undefended. They double bar the door of the home against the culprit and the searching party. Stand the drinks for everybody toasting freedom. Of all things, they are not a set of legal clauses dry and dusty, although Amendment 7 makes us wonder.
Amendment 7. In suits at common law where the value of controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall otherwise be examined in any court of the United States, then according to the rules of the common law.
Except for that, not like a lawyer's brief at all, but mostly like a kind of freestyle ode to liberty, 10 verses long.
Amendment 8. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted.
Treason in most of Europe. A sentiment like that today.
Amendment 9. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
Notice how many times it says the people? Can it be because it means the people? Yes, it can.
Amendment 10. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively for the people.
Powers reserved to the people in a Bill of Rights? Oh, how the mighty and the proud have fallen. Why, King John, who threw a fit when the barons made him sign the Magna Carta, barons, mind you, who were heedless of the common people, John, the tough old monarch, would have died 1,000 deaths of apoplexy at the mention of the thought of it. The pharaohs of old Egypt, masters of the blackest arts of slavery, would have crawled inside a pyramid and shut 147 secret doors behind them in a panic. A promise is a promise. Has America's been kept? Has it come through peace and war, untarnished and unbroken? Has it worked, and is it working? For the people? By the people? Is it going anywhere from here? Are the rights the right rights? Are they rolling? Do they function? Do they click? Who knows the answer better than the people? Whom better can we ask than the great custodians themselves, the 100 million keepers of the promise? We shall ask them, ask a few of them, who stand for many more than the few, the high and the low among them. Ladies and gentlemen, an office clerk.
Well, we know what freedom is now. Looked for a while like a lot of us had forgot what it really meant and how much we had it. But the news from the four corners of the earth reminded us, all right?
Ladies and gentlemen, an editor.
There have been attacks on the press and strangleholds of various sorts, but they've been broken every time. And today, a man is
a worshiper.
I go to the church of my choice, and sometimes when I don't wish to go, I don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, an auto worker.
We got the right to organize. We got the right to bargain collectively. Those are good rights, and we're proud of them. And we're better workers on account of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, a manufacturer.
There's nothing in any law which forbids us to forget class differences and work together to strengthen the sinews of our country.
Ladies and gentlemen, an Okie.
I got it right. If I'm hungry and out of work, which I is then, to go looking for work anywhere in my country. The big court says nobody can't stop me from looking. Dang it, that's my right.
Ladies and gentlemen, a mother.
I might be afraid to bring a child into the world, but not to bring a citizen into the population of this country.
From men beneath the rocking spars of the fishing boats in Gloucester, from the vast tendency of busy cities roaring with a million mingled sounds of work, from towns spread thinly through the Appalachians, from the assembly lines, the forges spitting flame, the night shifts in the mines, the great flat countries of the prairie states, from the grocers and the salesmen and the tugboat pilots and the motor makers, affirmation. Yes, united, proudly in a solemn day, knit more strongly than we were 150 years ago. Can it be progress if our Bill of Rights is stronger now than when it was conceived? Is that what you call wearing well? The incubation of invincibility. Is not our Bill of Rights more cherished now than ever? The blood more zealous to preserve it whole? Americans shall answer, for they alone, they know the answer. The people of America, from east, from west, from north, from south. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the people of the United States.
We speak the next year. We look forward to a world founded upon 4 essential human freedoms. The first is freedom of speech and expression everywhere in the world. The second is freedom of every person to worship God in his own way everywhere in the world. The third is freedom from want, which translated to world terms means economic understanding which will secure to every nation a healthy, peacetime life for its inhabitants everywhere in the world. The fourth is freedom from fear, which translated to world terms means a worldwide reduction of armaments to such a point and in such a thorough fashion that no nation will be in a position to commit an act of physical aggression against any neighbor anywhere in the world.
Of course, the great tragedy of this work is that it was written far too soon. Too soon to see the end of World War II and the defeat of fascism.
Too soon to see Martin Luther King's journey to the mountaintop, followed by his tragic fall.
Too soon to experience the new frontier of the space race, where America's technology quite literally soared to new heights.
Too soon to serve as a reminder of the promises that the Constitution guaranteed to all Americans in turbulent times such as the Cold War and the Civil Rights Movement.
I have here in my hand a list of 205 people that were known to the Secretary of State as being members of the Communist Party, and who nevertheless are still working and shaping the policies of the State Department. Joseph McCarthy.
This very heart of the great Anglo-Saxon
in the
South
United States
that today
and subject
we
to the
celebrate
jurisdiction
freedom
thereof,
as
are
have our
citizens
generations
of the United States
forebears
and of
before
the
us.
state wherein
Time
they
and
reside.
again down
No
through
state shall make or
Let us
enforce
rise
any
to
law
call
which
for
shall
freedom
enrich
of
the
the blood that is in
privileges
us,
or immunities
and
of
send
the
our
citizens
answers
of
to
the
tyranny
United
that
States.
claims its
Nor
chance
shall
upon
any
the
state
crown.
deprive any
In
person
the
of
name
life,
of the
liberty,
greatest
or
people
property
that have ever
without
trod
due
this
process
earth,
of law,
I draw
nor
the
deny
line
to
in the
any
dust
person
and
within
toss
its
the ball
jurisdiction
before the
the
feet of
equal
tyranny.
protection
And
of
I
the
say,
laws.
segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. George Wallace.
The Equal Protection Clause. Yes, truly a beautiful piece of writing. This passage, without a doubt, represents the promise of the Bill of Rights, the promise of those men who sat in Federal Hall now 240 years ago, who dared to dream and experiment with democracy.
The Republic is a dream. Nothing happens unless first a dream. Carl Sandburg.
And it is within this dream that our nation still tosses and turns in the fitful sleep of a country that wrestles with old ghosts while moving forward and encountering new threats to the promise of our founding documents. When tragedy struck our country on in September the 11th, 2001, our nation came together in grief and unity. Yet our government persuaded us to ignore the promise of the Bill of Rights so that we might be safe.
Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Benjamin Franklin.
Yet, we cannot overlook the struggles of those who fought and fell to preserve the Union throughout the history of our country, whether at Lexington to shake off the throes of colonialism, or on the fields of Antietam to defend the Union against a country founded
upon exactly the opposite idea. Its foundations are laid, its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery and subordination to the superior race is his natural and normal condition. Alexander Stevens.
Then we must also remember those we call the greatest generation. They fought at Normandy, the Battle of the Bulge, the Ardennes, Tarawa, and at Iwo Jima. They fought to defend their American way of life against those who stood opposed to every facet of equality and freedom our country that is celebrated by our country. When they came home from the war, they built the greatest prosperity that our nation had ever seen, partly because they embraced the ideals of the Founding Fathers, as well as FDR's new 4 freedoms.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of worship. Freedom from want.
Freedom from fear.
Now looking forward, we stand on the precipice. Will we heed the lesson of those who came before us and shed off xenophobia and hate, prejudice and hate, and will we rise to the occasion, rise as the vanguards of the Constitution's promise? After all, it is on us, not the government, but on us, we the people.
We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
That all men are created equal.
That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
But among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
We hold these